What's good, y'all? It's your boy Marsco on MarscoMedia, the hottest thing to come out of Western Mass since basketball. But to my left, I got a superstar, not only in the gym, but in the business industry as well. She's an entrepreneur, ex-superstar athlete, ex-veteran, and the CEO of FitFighter. I'm sitting here with SarahApgar. How are you feeling today?
Feeling awesome, especially since we just slammed hoses around all day.
Okay, that was really amazing. And usually, you're not usually the kind of person I interview, but I'm glad that I could do it today. And this is really a first for me, interviewing like a business owner. And today we're here shooting a commercial, shooting like some content for your page and like your brand as a whole.
Yeah.
How did you land on coming over here to Western Mass in this gym?
Yeah, so Steve Conca of Conca Sport and Fitness, strength and conditioning, exactly, was one of my first ever partner gyms. So when Steel Hose was still largely in the firehouse, working with firefighters to make them better, stronger for the fireground, Steve was one of the trainers and coaches. It was a pioneer of taking Steel Hose out of the firehouse and putting it into the gym setting for every person age 8 to 80, because we realized how powerful and safe and applicable it was for their goals and objectives as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how did you really get started with like FitFighter in general, or like just the Steel Hose brand?
Yeah, I was a volunteer firefighter, having left the military and really missing it. And I was looking to mimic the feel of fire hose line that was charged with water, because I found that as a small person, even though I was strong, I'm small, and I found that to be very awkward and difficult to move.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was like really unwieldy. And so if we could figure out a way to mimic this and move with it much more frequently rather than dragging it off the trucks and attaching it to a hydrant, then we would be able to move better and increase our work capacity. And so I started to do that, and I started to refine what that felt like, use different materials inside of the hose. Finally, I started stitching the ends and coming up with this, what became a free weight and strength training tool, resistance device, rather than just mimicking a particular skill for firefighters and tactical athletes. So that was my organic conception of Steel Hose.
Obviously, that's how you got in, that's how you made the Steel Hose and came up with the idea. But to even be in this field, you have to be in great shape, be physical, and obviously, like, as a woman, you've probably heard this before, like, how did you get into all this fitness and like just being like a firefighter? And I know you played rugby back in the day. I know you did in military. Like, how did you start your fitness journey realistically?
Yeah, you know what's interesting is I actually contribute it back to being a gymnast when I was a little girl. So I put my kids in gymnastics. I think every child should be in gymnastics because it gives you the situational awareness of your body. It gives you a sense of balance. And it just builds your organic strength at a very early age. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the movement we do with Steel Hose that is fluid and flowing movement is movement that really nods towards gymnastics, acrobatics. It gets really different, probably you saw, than what your typical strength training. Definitely. And so that's how I got started, and then I just became an athlete all my life. I loved sports. I loved movement. I loved just being capable of, of picking up something in the outdoors. And so I played sports all through high school. I became a rugby player in college, and then the military kind of keeps you in that physical-oriented profession. Mm-hmm. And so carried through my 20s and 30s, and I mean, now I'm in my early 40s, and once you've built that foundation, then you have that strength and that balance and that foundation for the rest of your life, as long as you maintain it.
That's very true, and I agree with that. Like I said, I saw you over here. You're doing better than me. I was tired watching you, for real. Like, I was like, woo, she's killing it.
We're gonna move together.
Yeah, I like that. But honestly, though, I need to ask you, like, we gotta talk about Shark Tank. You already know. How did you end up on the show? Like, was it like, did you reach out, or like, did someone reach out to you? Or like, what was that process like?
Yeah, so during COVID, and we were really early in the conception of the company, and I had moved out of my garage into a small factory to make Steel Hose, and I was trying to keep the lights on, and so we developed a home fitness set of Steel Hoses, 5, 15s, and 25s. We went on Instagram, started Instagram Lives, and I got a call in late May of 2020 from producers at Shark Tank, and I thought it was like an Ed McMahon moment, I thought it was like Candid Kim or something, but it turned out to be of genuine interest, and they picked up our brand and product, thought it was a really great story, and wanted to feature us in the show. And so one thing led to the next. I enthusiastically jumped because I was a struggling, hustling sometimes failing entrepreneur at the time. And so August of 2020 was invited to go out to Las Vegas in the height of COVID and film the show. And then we aired November 13th of that year.
That's amazing. And was there like any nerves to be like, oh, I'm going to be on TV, I'm about to meet billionaires per se? That's great. Like, how did you feel?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, you can't possibly have an experience like that without nerves. And what I did, though, is a lot of what we preach with FitFighter, which is the preparation, the diligence, the meditation for 30 days before, 90 minutes of practice. I mean, all these things about routines and habits and diligence and preparedness ring true when you have an experience like that where so much is on the line. And so I did that for the 45 days or so once I got committed to the show. And it was really successful because then at that time, then you're able to just drown out a lot of what creates that like nervous energy inside of you. And the pitch went awesome. I knew that was going to be the big bread and butter, was like that 2-minute pitch at the beginning, like nail that. Everything else is sort of out of my control, with the exception of being prepared to talk about the company. And it went well. We got a deal from Daniel Lebetsky, who is founder of Kind Bars.
Yes, he is.
And he's an awesome person to work with. He's still heavily involved in the company. And I'm just really, been the most amazing journey I can imagine as an entrepreneur and an inventor.
Sure, I can imagine. Like, as someone who's a creative, I would love for a shark to come over here and buy me a new camera. But to speak
someday.
One day, right? But to speak more a little bit on that is like, so I always say when you watch Shark Tank, they break your whole thing down to like 5 minutes. Like, what was different between like what happened like on the show or like what would happen in the room?
Yeah, behind the scenes, you're actually in that studio for 45 minutes, an hour. I mean, it could be, certainly at least 20, 30 minutes. For me, is about 45 minutes. And you're pitching, you're having a little more of a boardroom conversation. I mean, you do know that this is going to be for entertainment purposes. Mm-hmm. You know this is going to be cut and put in the, on primetime TV. So you have to be ready to accept that, and have some thick skin about it, because I think all the sharks know that too. But it's very different because you are at least having an exchange and engagement and conversation. What you see on TV is these snippets that are created for the purposes of the 7-minute story. So it's really quite different. That being said, the double doors, the shark tanks on either side, the walking down with the camera in the face, that is all real and totally similar to what you see on TV.
Mm-hmm. So are there actually sharks in the tank? Those sharks in there?
Those are digital screens.
Oh, okay.
But that would be awesome.
I was like, wait a minute. I thought you said sharks. Like, that's crazy.
That'd be good.
Okay, so like, I think my last major question to you is like, how have you seen the business change or grow since you've been on Shark Tank? Like whether like Daniel caused a difference or just the publicity? Like, what happened?
Yeah, well, 6 million people watched that show during COVID, and I think close to that in any normal evening for a premiere. And so you get a massive spike in publicity, I think, no matter whether you're successful or not. And so we had a huge spike in sales. For us, what was interesting was that it accelerated our entry into home fitness, a consumer market, which is not something I'd planned to do for a couple of years, because we have an innovation that has to be planted first in the industry with trainers and coaches like Steve Conka here at this gym. We have to do, in our industry, to have something that is long-term and truly disruptive, you have to go top-down, because there's very few influencers at the top of the pyramid where everything flows down from there that happens. And so if you're just the next, home fitness gaff or, the next fad object, then you're not going to have any staying power. So we built this big consumer market, and then we really backtracked and started to work again with partners and clients, like the gyms and the trainers, the professional athletes and teams, the colleges and high schools. And so we now supply training and equipment and programming for them, so that eventually will trickle back into people's living rooms and be something that in 20 years is, has like told the dumbbell to take a hike, because that's dangerous and hard and not fun anyway and hard to grip. And most people don't need to be using hard steel and all of the many, many strength training tools we think we need in a home gym. A steel hose. I always say, if I could give every human being a 15-pound steel hose and 90 minutes a week for the rest of their life, I can keep them strong. That's like standing, I stand by that idea. And so that's what we're here for.
That's amazing. So I know I said that was the last one, but you keep talking and they gave me another idea. Is this your first Is this the first business you've ever like started? Like, or was there things in the past?
Yeah, well, I've always been one of those people who's launching things, smaller things, like where you just come up with ideas and then you sort of just run with it. But this is definitely the first company that has, that I've funded and grown and built a team and, created into a true company versus sort of an idea that's got like a few seeds but sort of, stumbles along. So I've built like, outdoor programs in the military, or I've like, I've definitely had like flirted with ideas before, but FitFighter is the first time where, we've had something that's going to be really big.
That's amazing. So you had a lot of practice and now you got it. You're on the big stage now making it happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I truly appreciate you talking to me. It's been a pleasure.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And before you go,
Pleasure's mine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out the social media. Shout out where they can find you. Find out where they can find the brand, like everything. Let the people know.
Awesome. Yeah. So on Instagram, find us at FitFighter, which is pretty much where you should find us everywhere. FitFighter.com, at FitFighter. We are taking names and own all of anything that's FitFighter oriented. So I would say Instagram and our website are the best place to come check us out.
Awesome. And this is just for me really at this point, but as someone who's like working on being my own person, being my own brand and everything, that I'm just trying to be an entrepreneur myself at 21 years old.
Yeah.
Like, do you have like any regrets or like any major mistakes you feel like you made like in this business? Like anything, like if you could go back and be like, hey, I wish I didn't do this or something like that. Is there any?
I do. What I will share with you is that you'll have a lot of loud voices in your life as an entrepreneur who want to give you advice, sometimes because it's really great advice. Sometimes it's because they're insecure about maybe their own trajectory and they want to help with, sort of be a loud voice for yours, or anywhere in between. And I made some mistakes around listening to some of those voices that were loud and I trusted, but really diverted from my own vision and convictions about what was most important. And so my advice is make sure that is always the loudest voice in your head no matter what, because this is your one I had someone, an advisor whom I love, say to me, this is your one chance to realize whatever vision it is you have for this company. And even if you fail, at least that was a vision that you had a strong conviction for achieving. And you'll probably succeed because you'll make it a reality in the way that you can see it on the horizon. And I loved that advice. So I would pass that along to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna internalize it. It sounds like stay true to yourself. So I'm gonna keep that going. Thank you, Sarah. Truly
You're
a pleasure.
welcome. Thanks. It's so fun to talk.
It's good to talk to you too. Thank you. Bow. MarscoMedia.